That was the mindset of him, okay? So every time I wanted to lose weight, he would constantly say, oh, don't go too small, mommy. You look beautiful. I want a big mama. Keep on eating. My brother's wife, do you not see how she's a big woman and people respect her? And Sister Dare, you see these big women, people respect them. And so he wanted me to be like a big auntie. And
Chanel, darling. Oh my gosh, you guys. A couple weeks ago, I was scrolling and came across the shorts from Chanel Boateng. I think that's how you say the name. And she said it was a video about the divorce glow up. And I looked at the video and I was like, wait, what's going on? She was showing the pictures before and after. And I went on Instagram, my private one, and asked people, like, do you guys know what was going on with Chanel Boateng all these years and all that? Because she posted this video. And I waited a little bit. And then I came across her channel and went to it. And then I saw that she was posting different parts, kind of telling her story of what went down. And, ooh, I was here for it, okay? I sat there, I was like, okay, this is why I say be careful about putting marriage on a pedestal and looking at other people's marriages and going, oh my gosh, I want that. She's so lucky, blah, 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 blah. Chanel Boateng has been there for years. She was that plus size queen back in the day. I remember watching her and I was like, that is so cool. She used to do makeup and do certain fashion videos. And I just remember she was that girl at that time. And for a really long time, I saw her as somebody who looked very happy. And that she had a husband that was very supportive and loved her and things like that, and everything looked great, you know. So I didn't understand it. I was like, wait, what happened from that to now? So as I'm watching the story, Chanel Boateng is Ghanaian, and the husband was from Nigeria, and she was talking about dealing with emotional abuse, defensive, at some points, and she mentioned at a point, I think, there was no intimacy or something like that because this guy was attached to a Christ Embassy Church, I believe, or something like that. So intimacy was something that I don't even think that they did or something like that. You guys can correct me on that. She found out the man had lied about so many different things. Like everything was pretty much a lie with him. Okay. The other thing that caused an issue is that he wanted her to stay big and to be fat because to him, you know, he had this mentality like being fat was something that is looked at as wealthy, even compared, you know, the brother's wife, you know, being bigger and telling her that she needs to be that size, blah, 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 blah. So this became like something to control her because she later says that he said, you know, if you lose the weight, you're going to lose all the brands you're working with, you're going to lose the money. So pretty much this guy was keeping her, telling her to stay fat, not on top because of his mentality. And on top of that, she was bringing in the income. Because later on she mentioned that she lost a lot of brands and all that the minute she lost weight. And also they wanted this picture perfect family. So when their family broke apart because of the divorce and stuff like that, the money went down. And that's something that she was willing to sacrifice for herself. So she mentioned that. She mentions how, you know, the husband kind of became like the passenger princess. Like he was literally, she was struggling getting like in the car, putting a seatbelt on. And this guy was just sitting there, not even really helping and participating. And even the times that she realized our income was going to go down, the husband did not even come up and say, hey, you know, I'm going to do this and this to try to help. He kind of sat back and was comfortable. So this story is really a great example that, first of all, be careful about looking at other people's marriages and getting excited and say, ooh, I want that. Their marriage is so perfect because you don't know what's going on the inside. There's quite a lot of women that are suffering and struggling in silence, and she's very brave to come on and speak about her experience because for a long time people didn't understand what was going on. I really didn't get it because there was a time gap that had passed and I didn't understand what happened in the marriage, you know. But as she's talking about all this thing, I felt really bad. I'm like, wow, she went through all of that. I believe she's getting counseling and she's, you know, talking to her pastor and things like that. She even mentioned there was a time where she went to her pastor. She talked to the pastor and the pastor was like, was somebody who supported marriages, Christian marriages and all that. There were so many couples, like she said, that she saw. But this pastor offered a little card for a lawyer, a divorce lawyer. And so at the end, you know, she got really fed up, and she says that she told the guy pretty much, I'm going to give you 1 year to clean up the mess and to figure it out, or whatever. And the guy was like, well, you can divorce me in 2 days. But then later on or whatever, when she brought up that she was going to divorce, he didn't want that. He was so comfortable in being in this situation because the money was coming in. So his whole tactic was to keep her a certain size, to keep the brands coming, to keep the money coming, and did not really care about her health, did not care about her. He actually didn't even love her, really, because at the end of the day, if you don't care about somebody's health, if somebody comes to you as a partner and says, hey, so a lot of things are affecting my health that are based on my weight, and you are just kind of like, you know, like, aren't you worried about the income, blah, blah, blah. Like, that is not the person you really want to be with at the end of the day. Listening to this story, she was talking about looking back. She's like, I can't believe that I put up with all this stuff this whole time. You know, I think the guy put her so much that her self-esteem had gone down. And so it made her just feel like, my gosh, she felt stuck. You know, and I just really appreciate this story because this is a really good example that you have to be really careful. Because there's marriages that look perfect. But they look perfect because somebody's not talking about what they're dealing with. They're keeping it private. And so you have to be really careful. So in the end, I mean, I just was like, holy cow. Because from looking in, to me, the guy looked like he was really loving her, and I didn't even know that he wasn't really providing, because at the end of the day, she was paying the mortgage, and she mentioned all these other things that she was taking care of. And I'm just like, you were pretty much in a relationship by yourself. And him being in the church caused an issue too. So this is another thing where they say, like, some men of God, you have to be careful about, because they come into your life and they want to control every aspect, and when you want to change or do something different, they have an issue with it. So you guys, I'm going to leave the link down below so you guys can go watch the story, because it is just like, what? I was sitting there with my little drink and I'm just like, my jaw was like, what? The other thing that I forgot to mention is the guy from the part of Nigeria that he comes from. They have something called, I think it was like a fattening room, where they pretty much put young girls to groom them for marriage. And, you know, they're supposed to be fed and they're supposed to eat really a lot to kind of get them bigger. So that he has an obsession and a mentality about a bigger woman. So that's why he wanted to keep her. And the minute that she changed that, you know, the relationship started going downhill. And, you know, I just give her kudos. I mean, if anything, this is a really, really great example to be careful about thinking that, you know, somebody's marriage is perfect, because I was shocked at the stuff I was hearing.